So why isn't Franken getting out in front of this whole thing and sponsoring his own bill to combat the problem?
Well, I think he's going to have a lot of questions that he's going to have to answer. When he's asked, hey, have you done this with other women?
Should members of Congress be able to silence sexual harassment claims with taxpayer dollars? It's a question that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. I'm Nate Madden, CRTV's congressional correspondent, and I'm speaking with Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis, who has introduced a new bill that would stop the process and at the same time also expose the congressmen who have made these kinds of deals in the past. Congressman, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
So, Congressman, can you tell me a little bit more about this bill that you've put forward?
Okay, well, first, this goes back 20 years. So we say any taxpayer settlement, the taxpayer has a right to know why that money was paid, the amount it was paid, and on whose behalf it was paid. And so members of Congress, staff, that needs to be made public. And then going forward, we bar any taxpayer dollars to be used to cover for member misconduct, not only in these slush funds, but also out of the member's office budget like John Conyers did. He paid a settlement, but he camouflaged it as an employee payments as if she was working as a staff when she wasn't. So we get rid of all those. Then the final thing we do is if people are victims and they've been silenced, we allow them to tell their story and liberate them from any non-disclosure agreements.
How is your bill different from the ones that Democrats have proposed?
Well, one, my bill is actually bipartisan. I got a lot of Democrats. The bills that they're proposing really deal with how do you report it and how does the Congress handle sexual harassment internally. Mine is, transparency on what's happened in the past and then barring the tax dollars from being used to bail out members for misconduct going forward. And so it could be complementary to some of those bills. It doesn't really speak to some of the issues they're trying to speak to. Mine is really a government accountability, a sunlight, and a taxpayer protection bill, and we're trying to get rid of bad incentives for bad behavior, which is what you have right now. I mean, you're basically inviting people to misbehave if they know someone else will pay for it and it'll be kept secret.
That right there is enough of a reason to think that leadership of either party, and both parties, is going to want to stay away from this kind of a thing or pass something weaker that wouldn't expose what went on in the past. Do you think that that kind of public pressure is going to be enough to force them to push this thing through? Well,
in this case, we have secret settlements. Your tax dollars were used. Do you have a right to know about that or not? And it's I think it's an untenable position for them to say, well, we're going to respect that, we're not going to be able to do that. The secrecy involved in that was illegitimate from the start.
Would you have introduced this had these two members been Republicans?
Of course. Why would you ever want tax dollars being used to cover for the misconduct of a public official and then have it be kept secret at a public view? It's wholly inappropriate, it's outrageous, and I think particularly Republicans should be appalled by it. I mean, the Democrats, look, they like the swamp, they like having this. I mean, this really speaks to how they view government. So for us, the opportunity to police our own, and look, if we make this public, look, there's going to be a lot of Democrats, but there will be Republicans. There's just no doubt about that.
Like you said, this has been going on for over 2 decades. Why did anyone think that this kind of a process was okay in the first place?
The reason why I think it flew under the radar is because Congress has a history of doing these secret funds. So this was one permanent appropriation that was done in '95. It never comes up as part of the annual budget process, the annual appropriations process. So we're not even asked to ever vote on it. So it'd be one thing if that was something that we had to scrutinize every year, but we don't. So that is how they get around it. It exists. When the settlements are secret, if you're just a normal member of Congress, there's no way you would have any idea what's going on.
So why isn't Franken getting out in front of this whole thing and sponsoring his own bill to combat the problem?
Well, I think he's going to have a lot of questions that he's going to have to answer. When he's asked, hey, have you done this with other women? And he says, I can't guarantee there aren't going to be more people coming forward. I mean, I think that is probably an indication that he may be just at the beginning. This may be the end of the beginning for him rather than the beginning of the end in terms of the number of allegations that are going to come out.